Welcome again to another episode of Card Authority. There's the camera. Get confused where all the cameras are here. Hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday night. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been around, but we're back, Janks. We're back.
We are back live and direct, and as you said, it's been about 3 weeks. About 3 weeks since we were last on the screen and on the airwaves.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, and it's been a big 3 weeks, a big 4 weeks, we'll call it actually. You know, Optimum released a bit over 4 weeks ago.
A few people, first of all, because obviously this is all about you guys. Who is this work experience kid?
I know, right?
Wow.
So very rarely do I shave. It's happened twice in about 10 years have I shaved with a razor, and it's both in the last 12 months actually.
It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. I don't even recognize myself, to be honest. But so it's been big 4 weeks aside from my beard growing huge and having to be shaved this morning. Other big things that have happened of recent: a Jordan signature card sold over the weekend for $2.7 million. So just another indicator of really where things are at. Definitely probably been a little bit of a slowdown in NBA in the off season, but wow, $2.7 million for a Michael Jordan card. That is some serious money.
Big shout out to everyone coming on the stream. Robert, Jacob, Mitchie, Steve Massier, 3 slabs of JD. That sounds good.
Yeah, very good.
Robbie, how are you up at the Slab Lab? But yeah, it's been a huge couple of weeks. Obviously, you just said there's big moves happening certainly overseas. And I guess all the people that were saying that there was going to be this drop off on a global level of trading cards. Every time it feels like that happens, suddenly out of nowhere, there is a huge sale that breaks records.
Yeah, that's right. There's some sort of record-breaking sale. And we're also seeing, the sands shift a little bit in different areas. Pokemon is a big one at the front of a lot of people's minds at the moment. And at the top of the market with their 21st anniversary edition, the Celebrations release.
So that's, I think it's the ETBs have started to come out now.
Yeah, ETB.
And I guess what everyone's waiting for is that ultra premium release, which is
November, I think.
November,
sometime in November. So
g'day, Jared.
Pokemon g'day, David. Seems to be hot. It's been interesting for us, I suppose. We've taken a pretty good measurement and seen a transition of people from Pokemon collectors actually moving into AFL over the last 4 to 6 weeks. Especially in terms of this release, almost seemed to be a trigger point for a lot of NBA. More specifically NBA collectors and Pokemon collectors. And we define that measurement because we see through our own network where people are coming from and what their answers are to their entry questions and other mechanisms we've got.
And something I certainly noticed when the ETBs were released a week or so ago, the amount of people that what we would consider as AFL people that were posting up their Pokemon hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we had a good chat with Squid over at Supreme Card Breaks, and suddenly he's just hitting us with all this information about Pokemon. I had no idea he was into it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I think, as you said, we saw a few posts and we started to see not only is there new people coming across into, the world we're more familiar with, but there's clearly people already in our world that are into Pokemon and just maybe have never shown it amongst our networks before. So that's been really interesting to see. So there's big things going on there.
Daniel, Ruckers, sorry, everyone's streaming.
Hey guys, in here. Jara.
Yep, how are you all?
Good to see you all. Isn't it Pokemon? That's right. Yep, Jacob, there you go. What else? Also, Jacob, something you'll like is cricket. Cricket's back on the agenda again. So cricket cards coming out soon I believe in the next few weeks. Is that right?
Early November.
So early November for cricket. Cricket came back with a bit of a buzz last year. There was a few issues in cricket prior to last year, and then TLA retook the license back over. Made a really nice product, which we opened a bit of, which was cool last year. And it seems like they are going down that path again. So I've got a keen eye on what's going on in the cricket world in terms of cards, but that's your domain.
Well, I think the good thing about the cricket is that there was obviously a little bit of concern that the Ashes series wasn't going to go ahead, which would have been a massive dampener for the cricket cards. But it looks like that's all been sorted out. The English are coming over, so it'll be a good season of not only the Ashes, but also Big Bash, which I know you watch religiously.
Yeah, it's just as big of a bash as they come.
Absolutely. Brendan. Yes, looking forward to cricket. Yeah, mid-November. Yeah, that's what I think.
Exactly as Jacob Mabbott has said there in the comments for those listening from afar. Different company and better cards is and that seems to be the consensus out there. I by no means am a cricket card expert, let alone a cricket person really in general, but
I would say you're quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's right. But we learned last year very quickly that what had happened was a more reputable company had picked up the license after there had been previous issues the market confidence wasn't great before then.
Yep.
People, last year's product from memory sold out, and there was a pretty big buzz around it. And we're looking forward to seeing the growth again this year. And
I think it definitely sold out on a wholesale level. I know there's still some boxes floating around and stuff like that, but I think they made a good shift. And of course, people, especially the AFL community, think that cricket is a comparable product to, say, Series 2. But really, it sits somewhere between a Footy Stars and a Prestige. There's some
SIGs and redemptions.
They've got autos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of hits, lots of stuff for kids, lots of stuff with, hobby collectors.
Yeah.
There's certainly lots of things around. G'day, Jace. Yeah, we're doing well. Jara, obviously tonight, is all about you guys. If you have questions, fire them on. We will ask them. How are you guys going with your Optimum PC Masters, Jared?
Because we're going to jump on and talk about Optimum.
Well, how are you going? How are you going with your set?
So my set's complicated, as a lot of people know. I do a master set. My master set is low number. Then I collect jumper numbers and O1s, but my jumper numbers and O1s can't impede on the master set itself. So therefore, I need sometimes more than one of different type of cards. My set's going pretty good. I have a fully completed St Kilda set, I could say.
Yep.
I probably actually have two fully completed St Kilda sets, but I don't have a fully completed low number set.
Okay.
Yeah. I've picked up a few jumpers and O1s that I'm very happy about.
Well, it's funny. Ricky's saying here from Breaks Are Us, there's a package coming in the mail. Well, that was actually my dual SIG, St Kilda dual SIG, which I was very quickly informed.
Thank you very much. Big shout out to the boys over at Breaks Are Us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I lost that card, but I'll pick my
AJ was in the break the other night and hit a St Kilda dual SIG, so straight to my collection for that one.
Snaffled.
But everything's going good. What about you? How is your Tigers PC coming along? You're close.
Yeah, no, I'm there now. I'm there. So obviously I've covered off my Richmond master set, so all my Richmond cards. And I unfortunately do have to collect doubles of Dusty for my Dusty set as well.
Yeah.
So I have achieved that now, or very close. I mean, I haven't had time really to look at it, but I think I'm pretty much done. So it's been a fun chase. I probably attacked it a little bit differently this year. We certainly probably didn't open as much product as we would have in the past, but we've certainly been in a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. It's been a good release overall.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good segue.
Yeah,
so you mentioned just quickly in your intro, we seem to ask this question all the time. What percentage of stock do you think has been open now, to give people an idea if they're still chasing cards?
My perspective, and I'm pretty sure AJ's on the same page with me about this, is we think roughly about 65% of the sealed product has been opened.
Yep.
And is out there at this point in time, which is not a huge amount. There's a lot of cards still to come out. What the frequency is of that product being opened is really hard to say at the moment. There's no doubt there's a lot of stock with breakers and there's a lot of stock with resellers.
Yep.
But there's also, I think, probably the lion's share of it is actually with collectors who haven't opened all their boxes and may intend to hold on to them for a long time.
Well, that brings up a good thing. I certainly was going to say there seems to be a bit of a shift this release, and we saw it a little bit with Prestige, that it felt like a lot of stock was open really quickly in the first 24 hours.
Yep.
We saw lots of hits.
Yeah.
But we have seen this huge change that people are now holding on to sealed stock to trade for cards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which has never really been as prevalent. We saw little bits of it in Prestige,
yeah,
but I've definitely noticed a shift.
Yeah, and I think that's relative to the market conditions where, the sealed stock has such a high value, and therefore that's going both ways. It's giving singles a much higher value than they would have necessarily had in the past.
Yep, that's right.
And the singles are, the big ones are retaining that high value, and we'll talk a bit more about the valuations and stuff at the moment. But yeah, it's an interesting scenario. We've never seen it to this sort of extent before.
Absolutely.
Of the ability to trade boxes for cards. But at the end of the day, whatever's going to help people achieve their collections or get the cards that they want, whatever means necessary, really. I think it's all fine.
Question there from Hayden. Sorry if I don't keep putting off the screen, we're going to miss them. What Dusty cards in Optimum other than Optimum Plus? Dusty didn't even get a common card. That's true. There was no common card, but there was obviously his Optimum Plus, his Parallel, Headliner, Gold Headliner, Specialist, and also Dusty Metal. So there is plenty of Dusty cards out there. I was very lucky to have a good run of it in the cherry break. But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah,
it's been good.
Yeah, Jared.
Jared, what's a question here from Jared Dunstan? Matching numbers and people collecting Serrano numbers, serial numbers, in getting way more popular. Absolutely, and we talked about this a little bit at the start of the release or just before. I think there was a poll put up by Pete Buchanan on Really Good Vibes where he said, what are you looking for? And we noticed again this in Prestige, the amount of people that are suddenly looking for jumper numbers, O1s, lows.
Or particular numbers. So, someone collects 13, someone collects 17. Various clubs, various numbers. There are all different types of things going on. And
absolutely.
We taught, we said it probably, we started to say probably 6 to 9 months ago that it seemed like the trend of O1 jumper numbers and low numbers was really becoming something. And, there was, traditionally you would find 1 or 2 collectors from each club that collected lows, O1s, or jumper numbers, or all 3 of those. However, it now seems to be a real mainstay amongst a number of different people from every club. So that is obviously putting pressure on those cards, and the value of lows seem to be rising significantly.
I feel also too that people have probably had a little bit of a stigma in the past that getting 001s and jumper numbers were unobtainable. Whereas now a lot of those cards, obviously, prices are not inflated, but are increased versus normal cards. So people are wanting to spend more money than perhaps they would in the past to try to achieve those cards.
Well, I also think because there's more subsets now, so there's more numbered cards overall, it means it becomes more of an achievable reality for a broader amount of people. I suppose it's not like, there's only one type of this, there's one numbered card for this player the whole year. And so you've got no chance of getting a jumper number or a low or an O1 for that particular type of card. Whereas now there's so much variety out there. I think that presents opportunities. But again, there seems to be some very clear trends now, and that's also shifted into people choosing particular numbers for their entire collection. And I think a lot of that, it's not just to do with the aesthetic and the idea of having everything uniform. I think it's more to do with the chase.
Everyone wants a chase.
Defining a chase and defining something to achieve. There's no doubt that part of card collecting is the chemical reaction that you have in your brain, the euphoria you feel when you've achieved something, like anything in life, I suppose. And we get that from cards, and it's something that we yearn for. We may not realize it, but we yearn for that feeling of achievement, of acquiring a card and getting something.
And also, look, I noticed that there's some people and that in the past might be collecting a certain team, but now are collecting other players that they think might end up at that team. So ironically, that person just made a comment. But they're becoming different chasers, and I think what has also risen here in this release that I've noticed is there are so many more people collecting players.
And I think that's part of the adjustment.
And Essendon has really shown that this release. There's certainly been some Sydney cards. There seems to be sort of 1 or 2 from every club that suddenly people are really going after.
It's the speculation aspect that's taking place there.
Well, that was exactly where I was going to head.
And that's right. Like people have looked at what's happened with Dustin Martin cards over the last 2 years, and they're trying to pick off players that they think will have future success. And there's legitimacy behind, and there's reasoning behind it. And it's not just people looking to flip cards. There's collectors. Everyone from every background of trading cards is doing that. And it's just, that's the nature of human beings, I suppose, as well, and it's definitely heading more in that speculation direction. And I think the transition of people from NBA into AFL that we've seen recently and other international sports, where a lot of it is based on future performance and future outcomes as opposed to past and current, we're seeing that applied. And that, as a result, is pushing the pre-existing people who are in AFL cards to get on the horse a bit quicker as well now. So we're definitely seeing it with the likes of Sam Walsh, and that's probably the most prime example right now.
So look, this is a good question from David. How many people do you think from other sports have come into this to flip cards? I've noticed quite a few more cards flipped on eBay. And I was actually going to get to a nice point that I was going to say that I can't remember if we talked about this privately or on air, but whether it was a lucky coincidence, but the DPSs and the way it's been set up with 3 different tiers, 1 for everyone that was in the draft. the NBA crew what we call the NBA crew, the NBA collectors that have come across to AFL, and has given them this perfect vehicle to speculate. You know, DPSs, we've talked about the numbering, we've talked about the rarity, all that kind of stuff. But if you go and start collecting those DPSs and those players actually do something in the future, there is legitimate upside on a financial level that gives opportunity to flip and speculate.
Huge upside just based on the numbering. We've harped on about it. But again, you know, the last episode we had, we talked at that time that the DPSs were undervalued against, you know, DPSs historically from previous series, but against all other cards pretty much in this series itself as well. And we saw that continue for a bit, and we've seen that now flip around. And, you know, the cards are starting to dry up. There's still a little bit of bargain hunting around. The market has absolutely hit a bottom. The sell-off was there, but
we've bounced.
Yeah, we've bounced. The sell-off was there, but the sell-off has been nowhere near what it was previously.
So to answer David's question, do you think that the people that might have come in, and we use the term flipper, but you know, as I said, I've got no issues with people buying cards, selling cards for whatever their reasons are or how they collect. Do you think people have come in, moved boxes or cards quickly, sort of turbo? It's all been turbocharged a lot faster than in the previous.
Absolutely, but
because we forget we're only 4 weeks in.
That's right, we're 4.5 weeks in. But yes, 100%. We're seeing more of everything now. So it's not just more of people coming into flip. There's more people collecting. There's more intent. There's more demand. There's more of everything at the moment. And you know, at the end of the day, okay, well, you're using the terminology of flipping. There's people coming in, pure intent to get something, to turn it over for more, no intention to retain. Okay. And, you know, we always look at this really objectively and say, okay, if someone's in the hobby recirculating, well, that's really good for the hobby. They're buying and selling, they're making a profit. But if the money's being retained and respent within the hobby itself, well, that's really great. It builds the liquidity, and that creates further success for the entire market and the hobby. However, if people are coming in to withdraw the money, to take the money out of the hobby and take it to another place, well, that's sapping it out. So for every dollar that goes out, we need there to be $1 or more coming back in for it. At the moment, though, the ability to flip and make money from buying and selling, whether sealed product or single cards, has to be a reflection of the appetite for people to buy it.
Absolutely.
So therefore, you can, as much as you can look at certain aspects as a negative, it's a reflection on the whole of it being a very healthy ecosystem.
Absolutely. And we've talked for well over a year now of things, you know, people say price is horrendous this, price is too much that. If no one's coming and buying at that price,
well, people can't sell it. There won't be the flippers. They won't exist.
If people are buying, whether it's boxes or cards, that clearly says the market demand and the thirst is there. So, you know, sure, some people are making some money, but there's also lots of people that are investing money to further their collections.
Absolutely. Look, everything is in a huge space at the moment. It's super healthy. It's super good. People might look at that and not like it because it's become too big, you know, or it's getting too big or too out of reach. As you said before, though, people change their collecting style.
And great question here from Jason Cremona. Certainly a snooze you lose feel about this release. If you see a card you need, pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
And I did see someone else mention something about the mirrors before. Maybe it was Jacob. There are certainly some cards that haven't performed as well in this release, and we'll talk about that shortly. But generally, a lot of the big cards, there was a little dip that we saw a couple of weeks ago. That's pushing back. Like especially things like the influentials.
Big time.
I mean,
all the influentials, the DPSs, the platinums, and the golds now are really drying up, especially the half decent players. It's all, you know, it's all happening out there. You know, and the other things we've noticed as well is because of the way cards are now acquired and consumed, and the different avenues that people get their cards, and the way the distribution model has changed, from a data perspective, there's only 25% of the volume has gone on eBay, has been listed on eBay. Forget about being sold or not. 25% of the volume listed compared to Dominance last year.
So why do you think that is?
Well, Dominance was down on Dominance 2019 as well, because it's all shifting. The way people acquire their cards is changing, but and that is then fueling a different distribution model as well. So a lot more stock is ending up in people's hands. So because of the frenzy, rather than buying one box as you would have in the past, perhaps you're now buying the limit at 4 or 5 because you know the box value is essentially a bargain when you're buying it on the primary market.
So do you think that's a situation of in previous years, people that were getting stock, and we're certainly not calling out anyone here, but people that were allocated stock that were potentially breaking that down and fueling that secondary market, the eBay market, and now not doing that because there's other avenues to move their stock?
Well, it's probably a twofold thing. There's other avenues to move the stock, which means they may be able to generate, more than whatever the percentage gain would have been by selling singles. But I also think we know the availability of stock at a reseller level has been significantly diminished. And that is with the intent that more of the stock is being sold directly to the consumer from the publisher.
So do you think also there might be an aspect that there are more groups and more communities now than perhaps there were a year ago, which is giving opportunities for people to do trade, sales, whatever it might be, opposed to a year ago or 2 years ago where, there were really only a handful?
Well, I think cards have maybe finally caught up to technology. So do you know what I mean? Like, so, everyone says like, okay, well, COVID created this situation and that's what made trading cards what it is. Well, if you think more carefully about it, it's probably COVID created effectively an e-commerce boom that's been realized more in Australia than anywhere else in the world, because in Australia, we were so far behind the 8 ball in terms of online shopping. Just how, phone shopping never became a big thing here, and TV shopping was limited. So it's forced people into it. So as a result of that, trading cards and every other form of collectible has started to catch up to the use of technology and social media.
Good question here, good point by Jacob. I used to not buy boxes and only rely on the singles market, but you just have to buy boxes if you can at release, or it becomes so difficult to what you want now.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And that's a real adjustment on how people are collecting and acquiring cards. Good question here from Ricky, which, let me just see, my mouse is dead, I think. Are we going to see boxes drying up and selling above $900 a box? Personally, I don't think so. Yeah. I think, obviously, as everyone knows, we have other ventures here, and box breaking is one of them. The majority of the people that are paying $600, $700, $800 a box now are using them for breakers. There would be some people that are buying those and opening them, but I would say the vast majority of breakers. Yeah. I don't see that there is that much more movement now. I think we're at about $43, $45 a spot for a box, which is breaking at about $800 after costs and things like that.
Yeah.
I can't see it moving to 50, 55, 60. Right. It just doesn't happen. So I personally, we wouldn't be buying them at that price, nowhere near that. And I don't see that there's going to be a demand from other breakers who are going to buy those sorts of prices. Yeah,
I think
that's just my opinion.
At the end of the day, the value of a box is always going to be relative to what the extraction is that comes out of a box. So if the value of the singles don't continue to push up in price, then the value of the box has to stagnate at a certain price level.
Yeah.
If the demand becomes so strong for the singles, well then yes, obviously over time the value of the boxes, and Supremacy is a great example. In the 2019 marketplace, it was a $500 retail box. Product didn't sell out instantly. You could always buy it. It took 12 months for it to double in price in terms of value on the secondary market, but the value only increased dramatically because of the value of the single cards.
Correct. It all has to work together.
Well, that's right. And so now, a box of Supremacy 2019, if you can find one for $1,500 or something, it's a reflection, because base cards are no longer worth $15. They're now worth $100. And Premiership Brownlow doubles and Norm Smiths are no longer $45 cards. Yep. They're $145 to $300 cards. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Question here from Glenn. What's the chances that retailers are receiving cases and then getting a third party to resell at a much higher price? Look, I wouldn't say it's happening a lot, Glenn, but we can certainly say from our experience.
We've seen it, yeah.
But people are offering us cases.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're coming from somewhere.
That's right. They've got to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
They don't just come out of thin air.
Do I think it's happening as much as everyone thinks it is? Probably not. But it's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. Yeah. It's definitely happening. It's hard to get a gauge on how much of it's happening. Yep. And it's hard to know how much case form product was actually distributed to begin with.
Yeah, no one knows that. No one knows that question.
So that's the thing.
Jared Brown, their question: do you think there'll be more cooling off of larger cards in the off season? Well, I mean, there seems to be a bit of a cycle that we've always talked about. That cards are obviously really expensive after release, that drops off, and then it pushes up. And then generally when the next release comes, there's a bit of a drop off because people want to replenish funds and move into the next release. No one knows when the next release is, but I would say there is going to be a cooling off of some cards at some point.
Of the cards that there are an abundance of.
So let's look at something. Let's look at Sam Walsh Influential.
Yeah.
I think without even looking on eBay, I think it's a $2,600 card they're selling for.
But are they actually selling at that price level?
Sure, and that's my point.
I personally don't believe.
No. But if you want to go and buy a Sam Walsh right now,
if you want one, you have to go pay around $2,000 if you want one.
I reckon if I went back and look at my data sheet of what we valued that card at, I reckon we would have said it was $1,400.
It was ranging to $1,400, I would say.
Maybe even a little bit less.
Yeah, a bit less.
So we might very well be wrong. I mean, we are wrong sometimes. Maybe it is a $2,000 card, but that's a crazy price.
Well, it's a huge price, and the question, is how many people are there out there
spending that money?
Well, that would pull the trigger on a card, let alone that particular card. How many people are there that don't need to make an informed decision that takes a month to buy a card like that?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And that's a big question. But again, I think we're seeing a lot of the Sam Walsh and a lot of the specific player stuff being fueled at the moment by newcomers to the hobby as well, whether they're shifting across from other sports or they're coming in out of left field, whatever it is. People want it and they want it now. And to go back to what Jared had said there, who was it? Jared Brown.
Yep.
What Jared had said, do you think there will be more cooling off of larger cards in the off season? Well, I think we're going to see something different happen over the next few months. Which should traditionally be the cold period, between, let's say, December and March as we lead into the new releases and the new season.
Yep.
I just don't think the cards are actually going to be available. I think there's certain cards that people are waiting and saying, well, you know what? I've always played the long game. I'll play the long game here and I'll get the card for half the price in 4 months. I just don't think the card will be there.
Yep.
There won't be the card available. Not often are collectors actually selling cards out of their collection, let alone the big cards. So I would always think when a collector buys a card, for the most part, it's very unlikely that card reappears on the market anytime soon.
Yep. Yeah, and look, obviously there's a real thread of people talking about Collingwood and Essendon. Collingwood was a little bit flat during the year. There really feels like there's been an insurgence in this release. And Essendon has come from was up there 2 years ago, kind of crashed out last year, and now has just gone boom.
Yeah. So, and do you think that's a reflection that obviously there's more Essendon collectors than there has been for the last couple of years? No doubt about that.
More hope.
That's what it is. It's a morale thing, isn't it?
Yep. They see those kids. I think
they're excited.
Do well. Yep.
They're feeling like they're at the start of the new era for their footy club.
Yep.
The only way is up.
Yep.
People are excited about what the future holds. No different to probably St Kilda collectors, Carlton collectors as well at the moment. And that's the reality of it. I think performance, excitement around the club. It builds interest at a merchandise level, at a collector's level, at trading card level.
Yep.
That's what happens.
Absolutely.
Hawks prices have dropped because they don't look great.
They don't look great. And I also think that, the card you mentioned there, Hayden, about Mitchell Brilliance, the few Hawthorn supporters that we know, they're sick of seeing Mitchell on cards.
Yep.
They want to see a change. And thankfully that Mitchell isn't as featured in this release.
Yeah.
But there would definitely, it felt like a bit of a flood of Mitchell.
Yeah, but do you also feel like it goes beyond? They don't just want Mitchell on the card. They feel like they are at the end of an era and not quite yet at the proper start of a new one.
Maybe, yeah. I know.
Like they're going through an interesting period as a footy club.
Maybe. I definitely thought, and I think we said this on the show, we thought Hawthorn was going to be one of the top dual seed cards at the start of the release.
Yeah.
I would say the market has probably shown us to be wrong there. That you can pick up a Hawthorn dual seed card for $1,000.
Yeah.
It's got Warple, who is arguably one of the most collectible players.
Yeah.
And also Sam Mitchell, who is now their coach.
Yeah.
And that's $1,000 card.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to me. I feel like it should be in that top bracket with West Coast.
Yep. Solly Hawks brought something up here.
Yep. Let's have a look. Can the hype on DPS Platinum be any greater? Has to be the most desired subset, Platinums in Optimum. Absolutely. And Jenks,
it's warranted.
You used a term,
it's warranted.
I can't remember whether it's, on the show or in private or both. If any of those players do anything half decent over the next couple of years, that is effectively a signed influential.
It's let's be realistic what we're talking about here. This is the thing about DPSs. Every time when they come out, people don't view them for what they become. They only view them in the moment, And these DPSs, they are numbered to 40. They're numbered to 40. They are effectively one of the pinnacle cards that any player can have throughout their entire career. Historically, when you look back and you say, okay, I'm going to pick a player, past or present, one of the most important cards, or at least from most of the collectors I know, one of the most important cards that people want is their draft pick signature.
I'm getting abused saying that you're not centered, James.
Their draft pick signature. It's such a significant card, and to be numbered to 40, the first time ever to have a short print like that. Any player that becomes half decent, it's going to be like, I can't even imagine the money that some of these cards are going to command. Imagine one of these guys is the next Dusty, the next Sam Walsh.
Yep.
In even 2 years' time, let alone 10 years' time.
But as I said to someone today, they don't
never find them.
But they don't even need to be a Dusty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That some of these guys only need to be half as good as that, and it's still going to go through the roof. Yeah. Like everyone's saying, it's impossible to find a Jamara Platinum there, Gary's saying. I would argue, Jamara has done nothing special.
Yeah,
nothing special.
Not yet.
Look at the Richmond guys, Rioli and Sampson. Like Sampson's, still gets dropped off the footy by his mum.
Yeah.
Rioli is far from proven. But you can't find one of them less than $400.
So, there's obviously quite a few new people who watch this and are tuning in live right now as well, who haven't been around forever. So maybe a two-minute little quick history lesson here about DPSs.
Sure.
Just on a 2-year basis. In 2019, DPS is numbered to 175. The draft class was your Sam Walsh's, Max King, Bailey Smith, Isaac Quaynor, Connor Rozee, etc., etc. When that product was released in 2019, that was numbered to 175, which was already half or less of what it previously was in terms of numbering of DPS. Those cards, the worst players from the least desirable teams, you could pick them up for $15 at the time.
Yep.
Your bigger sort of players that had a bit of hype around them, Sam Walsh, Bailey Smith, the Collingwood one, even the Richmond one, just because it was Tigers at the time, they were commanding like $40 to $60 at the time, numbered to 175. So the equivalent of a copper. Look at some of those cards now. Those exact players, Walsh, Smith, King, they're all $300, $400, $500, $600 cards, numbered to 175 from only 2 years ago.
So they're numbered basically the same as a copper.
They're numbered the same as a copper, and the players who are showing signs that they could become superstars of the game, are already selling in the $300 to $600 region.
Yep.
So where does that leave an equivalent card numbered to either 40 or 85?
So we got a snapshot of it, and Jacob's literally just mentioned, he's beat me to it. Rao was the same last year.
Yep.
Do you remember Rao was coming out of the gate and it was $250, $300,
yep.
And everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, that's like...
No one had ever seen it before because it was the first time we saw speculation come in at the start.
Yep.
At the start of a career, not people buying into it 2 or 3 years in and then it hitting a peak 7 years later. It's now the entry point now has become where the previous peak was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're starting high, but they're remaining high. And then the true thing here is the numbering itself and the limitation on quantity is what will make those cards retain value. even for the players who are no good, they're in such limited print.
Yep.
They'll always actually retain a high value, in my opinion.
Well, they certainly should,
You'll never get any DPSs from this series as cheap as what you have been able to the last couple of weeks. It will not happen.
Yeah, agree.
It won't happen.
And I certainly, some people are talking about, James McElroy. He's scared of what a platinum Dacos will hit me up for next year. I mean, if they continue to do this next year, the same series of DPSs, I mean, I think Collingwood and Richmond have like 10 picks, so that'll be fucked, really. But Dacos, that's the kind of one, again, it's going to make Jamara look like a nothing. And actually, yeah, Ricky's just basically said that. Don't worry about Jamara. If Dacos goes number one, his DPS hits the market, it will be
huge.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane.
Absolutely.
But it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Definitely platinums are drying up.
Yeah.
They're drying up, and some of the prices some of them are going for. We've certainly noticed that with a Sydney player too, that you just can't find one.
Well, this is a player from every club. And again, the combination of people speculating, people now player collecting, no matter what team they play for, then the team collectors, the master set collectors, it's making cards. The notion of short print is that it's actually more short print than what it's ever been before.
Yeah, it's actually a true short.
It's true short print.
Yep.
Like it's a real reflection, and we're seeing that with the price. And you've got your doomsdayers, and the price is crashing, the market's crashing tomorrow, the cards, everything in a week, in a month. I've literally heard it for like 2 years straight. 2 years straight. There seems to be a huge amount of resilience out there.
Sure.
I don't know where all the money's coming from. People are finding it. There's a huge influx of new people going on.
But that's
constantly.
The thing. I think that's what it is.
There's an adjustment.
But there's more people coming in. Everyone thinks it's the flippers. There is legitimately new collectors coming in every day.
There's everything's coming in every day.
Absolutely.
So with the rate of new flippers and whatever, well, there's a huge rate of new collectors.
Yep.
There's people investing serious money in trading cards as a collectible asset.
Yep.
They're taking it more seriously now, like they do with paintings and artwork and other things. Whatever, sneakers is a great example. It's a bit of everything, and it's resilient. But there's also manipulation taking place.
Well, that's a nice segue. So obviously we saw a lot of talk this week about shill bidding, and obviously a few people that might be new to the hobby. Explain what shill bidding is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about it a little bit before, but we're going to refresh everyone's memory here. So shill bidding is effectively placing artificial bids on auctions, on cards that are at auctions, with the intent of driving up the price for either financial or personal gain.
Okay.
That's what shill bidding is. In real terms, what does that look like? That is, someone puts up an auction on eBay. They use alternate accounts to bid on their own auction to push up the card to a higher price, therefore leaving the genuine bidder paying a higher price for a card. So they achieve a higher price. Now, at the end of the day, it takes two to tango. So you always need an underbidder. What we are also seeing a bit of going on, or a lot of at the moment, is pushing up the price of other accounts and other auctions to drive it up and create a higher comp level.
So let's give some real world, a real world example.
Yep.
Okay. And we're just making this up. Okay. Just making this up. I've got a Dusty card.
Yep.
I know lots of people want it.
Yep.
I put it up on my account. People are bidding. You then, as my friend, come and bid and make it higher.
Yep.
Then instantly that bid keeps getting pushed up.
Correct.
So if it was sitting at $1,000, you keep bidding 1,100, 1,200, 13, whatever. And suddenly when that auction ends, someone's paying 1,500, but it's really those four bids that you've made pushed it up.
That's right. That's a great example of exactly how it works. And again, it takes an underbidder to achieve a price anyway. So it's still, to an extent, achieving its true market value. Someone may be, getting pushed to a higher price where they wouldn't otherwise have been bidding against another person, but it's getting true market value. Where I see a bigger problem, though, with shill bidding is either pushing up the prices to get false sales through to create comps at a higher price, or pushing up the prices of other people's genuine auctions with no intent to actually pay for it, because all you're trying to do is make it look like the card's sold for a higher price because you benefit out of it. And how could you benefit out of it? Maybe I have the Dusty card as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've got
you push that one up to $1,500.
So I'm going to come bid on your, before we both started here, the current market value, let's call it, is $1,000 on our Dusties.
Yep.
You put your Dusty
moving
card.
the camera, people.
You put your the camera itself, the cord keeps pushing it slightly.
I think it's you.
There we go. So your Dusty.
Yep.
I bid on your Dusty, and I drive your Dusty from $1,000 up to $1,500.
Yep.
Your Dusty actually ends up selling to John Smith, and he pays $1,501 for it.
There's a comp.
There's a comp. There's a comparison, a comparative price. Yep. We just took the price of a Dusty that when it last sold, it was $1,000, but now we got one sold for $1,500. Well, I've got my Dusty, so you know what I'm doing? I'm putting mine up for $1,800 now.
Right. So then someone that might have missed out on it suddenly sees it's $1,500. Oh, the price actually might be $1,800.
Yeah, the price might be $1,800. Or you know what? I saw one sold yesterday for $1,501. So John's going to come now offer me $1,650 for my $1,800 one.
Okay. So as someone looking on the outside, and again, look, some people are popping through some examples, and I don't want to talk about specific cards, but I feel that scenario is really dangerous when I've got the hiccups. When you've got people that run businesses, doing that sort of stuff, knowing that they've got those cards, creating artificial levels for those cards.
That's right. They're creating and that's what you start to call like a real actual bubble. They're creating a false bubble because it's not supported by reality. It's not supported by actual money terms in the background. Okay. Yes, someone eventually comes along and buys it and it pushes up the value of the card, but it's deceptive and manipulative behavior, and it wouldn't be tolerated in any other form of market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this stuff goes on in other industries,
and look,
but it's regulated. So
Jason, and obviously Jason has a big eBay account. I certainly won't expose him, but they had the amount of non-pays in the last 3 weeks in comparison to the last 3 years. So to me, Jason, who has obviously a lot of cards on his site, one of the reputable operators, is clearly people are using his high prices or the prices they push his auctions to
create comps.
To create comps that they can then go get their own game.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. And it was interesting. I saw it was posed a week or two ago, actually. The guys from Cherry posed it. Are comps actually starting to become irrelevant? Now, they were talking about it more with US sports, because the reality is in NBA and NFL and MLB and everything else, this has been going on for years.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years. We saw it, the powerhouse PWCC get taken down and banned from eBay for industrial scale shill bidding.
Yep.
But this has been going on for years. And the problem is it started to really creep into the domestic AFL market too.
So how do you stop it?
How do you stop it? I don't actually, there's no black and white answer to stopping it.
Yep.
Is shaming people a way to do it? Well, I'm not sure that they actually really care, or they will just find another way to do it. Reporting things. If you are one of those people that has an eBay account and you are getting purchases and then people constantly not paying, and they, there's a reason. Report their account back to eBay. If you are looking at auctions and seeing bids all over the place at high levels with accounts that have between 0 and 5 feedback, well, it's fair to say those are not proper accounts. They're not proper bids in most instances.
If you've got an eBay account that you suspect is shilling and they've got 50,000 or 60,000 feedback, is eBay going to do anything about an account that big, because they're probably paying infinite amount of fees?
I think if enough people take a stand, because there's so much of it going on, then I think eBay would have an obligation, both to the consumers, but probably to regulatory bodies, that they have to take action in that instance.
But I don't ever really see eBay accounts getting closed.
In fairness, there would be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of accounts in Australia. How would I reckon there would be plenty that are getting closed, to be honest. But I think a lot of them are the ones with 1 feedback or 2 feedback, because the people who operate large scale accounts have got other dummy accounts that they're using as well. But
Yeah,
I think, look, there's probably a little bit of both going on.
So I know personally, I don't get involved in eBay auctions. That's just a choice I made a long time ago because I don't trust the system.
In terms of you don't sell via auction or you don't buy?
I don't buy.
Okay.
I don't buy. And that's just a personal choice, and I'm certainly not telling anyone else not to do that. That's just a decision I made with Dusty and Richmond cards because I felt far too much of that was going on.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Do you get involved in many auctions?
I go into quite a few eBay auctions. However, I have very tight price ceilings. Okay. I set very specific limits, but I also look at auctions to look at the bid history before I get involved to see what's going on.
Okay.
You know, there was a clear instance for me recently where there was a really nice card, something that would be great.
Don't go into details.
Something that is something I would ordinarily buy for my collection. However, I saw very early on some things I did not like in terms of the bid history.
Yep.
And I felt it was being shill bid for one reason or another.
Yep.
And as a result of that, I didn't want to participate in trying to buy that card. And it wasn't necessarily because it was going to get shilled so high. It was I just felt, I don't know, I have issues with the manipulation of the price of cards that takes place, and there's certainly a lot more of it going on at the moment. I don't like it.
So we're certainly not saying don't get involved in auctions, but do your research the same way as you would. Have a look at bid history, have a look at the account that's selling, have a look at the account that you're buying off, all those sorts of things, and just gather as much information as you can before you make a decision.
Yeah.
There was a question I missed there. Let's pivot to something a little bit more fun. Glenn Antony, one of the great Port Adelaide men. Thoughts on the Max King era influentials? Some are keeping it and some are sending in to get a replacement.
This seems to be the hottest topic.
What would be more collectible in time? Now, obviously, you have 53 of them. So what are you going to do with all of those?
So I've got 41 of the 40 that were produced.
Yep.
No, I don't. I have more than one.
Less than 40.
I have more than one and less than 40. Let's say that.
Okay, so for you, and we did touch on this in another show, are you swapping them over to get replaced?
A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
So what becomes more collectible in history?
Yeah, both. It depends how you look at your collecting style. It's that horses for courses situation.
Yep.
Because everyone's collecting style is different. The parameter of my master set dictates that I need one of every single card produced from every single release.
Yep.
So if all of a sudden there is an error card and a replacement card, there's technically two cards.
So Daniel Inglis just said that error card will be worth way more. But Daniel, what I think is it an error card if all 40 of them are the same?
Correct, because it's not an error within the set itself. It's the entire set that's an error.
Yep.
So in terms of, so when something is worth more, a lot of it can be based on its rarity. So if we want to break this down and just look at the rarity of it, the one that will be worth more than the other is the one that's rarer than the other. And I would dare say no one will ever know which one's rarer than the other, because I can't imagine Select would ever release the information of how many got changed over.
No, I don't think so either. But if there's 40 out there, what percentage? And I guess this was a little bit like the Ruckwood. You've just stolen my thunder.
Yeah.
Same discussion as with the Diakos and the Dacos. It got to the point, and there was 170 of those, I think, or 210. Every Collingwood collector wanted one of each. So does that mean that half are getting swapped over? Less than half? More than half?
I think you've got a combination of people. You've got people who want one of each.
Yep.
Or you've got people that just want one, and the one they want it to be the correct one.
Yep.
Or you might have someone that likes the idea of uniqueness because there was an error. They want that one. Like it's just not a question that can be answered.
Well, it's a question that we can never get an answer
to.
Yeah,
it's a question that it's the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
This is the song that doesn't end. It goes on and on, my friend.
All right, very good.
Yeah,
it's certainly an interesting case study, and I think that obviously production issues happen. Clearly, whatever, the bloke that was on the gold foil stamp that day went for a smoke when Max King went through, but it's an interesting thing. People were really critical about it early on, but I love it. I think it's a great little quirk that people will talk about years down the track. Do you remember that influential that came out that had no gold foil?
Yeah. So, okay. So I've been asked a lot. I have the jumper number Max King influential.
Yep.
There we go. Everyone knows it now. I have the jumper number Max King influential.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Yay.
Yeah. What are you doing with it?
I took it straight off the production line. It never went in a packet. It didn't come out in a break that someone hit, and then I
Careful.
purchased it. Okay.
Careful.
That's.
What are you doing? What are you doing with it?
Well, I am going to get it changed over.
Because it's the jump number.
Because it's the jump number one, and it's going to be the most important one that I have.
Yep.
So I want it to be correct.
Yep. Okay.
I want it to be correct.
So
what would you guys do?
Yeah. So
what would you do?
Hypothetically, if you had the jumper number and the O1, because they're two things you collect, would you swap both of them? One of each? You know?
Wow. I don't know. I'd have to. I don't know. I don't know.
So are you more likely to get?
I don't know.
To keep a non-numbered as the error, like a random number.
Because this is the thing. My rationale is that if I'm changing over the jumper number because I want that important one to be correct,
would you do the same?
Well, surely I would have to do the same for the O1. But then it's like, well, do I want the mystique of the error? I don't know. You've put me in a shit spot here. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer it, but I can tell you one of my other ones, that's not a low number currently.
Yep.
I plan to get it changed over, but I haven't sent it off yet to do it.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to see where I end up because I like to try and upgrade sometimes my numbers.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting quirk and certainly something that I think we're going to look back in history about it and have we'll have a good laugh
Jeez,
about it.
my brain's spinning a million miles an hour because in theory, I actually now need two low numbers for my for my actual master set because the jumper number's not part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the shit here, basically, everyone.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So we're getting a few questions about it now. Obviously, Card Authority Slabs, CA Slabs is launching tomorrow. Thank you for everyone that's gone and jumped in the group and had a little bit of a look.
Yeah.
To give everyone a little bit of an idea of what we're doing, we're looking to encase cards to preserve, protect, and present your cards.
Absolutely.
It's not grading. It's a way that you can display your cards in a slab.
Or store your cards.
That's right. Store. It's airtight. It's safe. You know, if kids want to play with it, it's not going to get damaged.
Yeah.
It gets locked away for its final resting place.
Yeah.
With obviously a whole range of different labels and, you know, you can do custom stuff, all that sort of stuff. How have you found the feedback that we've had? Obviously, it's launching tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do you think people have been thinking about it?
I think the feedback has been far more than we ever anticipated, and that dates back a few weeks. You know, when Robbie O'Donnell our partner over in the Slab Lab, first leaked out a photo, and then we've obviously progressively pushed out over the last couple of weeks. The feedback has been amazing.
Yep.
The feedback has been constructive as well.
Absolutely.
Both positive
and we've
negative,
taken lots on board.
and we've taken it on board in terms of, you know, what the product looked like. And the product can continue to evolve. There's no doubt about it. And it will continue to grow and evolve. But the support's been amazing. We open up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. So Victoria, New South Wales time. I have no idea what's going to happen over tomorrow and the coming days and what the uptake's going to be like. I've had a lot of messages from people. People are excited. I think we're the most excited out of anyone involved.
Robbie's excited
in this. Robbie's definitely excited.
Yep.
Can you put penny sleeves? Yeah. If you wanted a sleeve, if you wanted to retain a sleeve, Jacob, do you want to put that up on the screen?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, Jacob. I sort of read your question.
Can you put penny sleeves over the top of signatures?
Now's your chance to ask questions
if the
about
customer
it, guys, if you want.
Ask before it's slabbed. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, all the slabs, the demo slabs, and the prototypes we've done so far, we haven't used sleeves on them.
Robbie, go and try that.
You know, Robbie in the Slab Lab, I'm sure, can put a sleeve on a card, and we'll get a photo up tomorrow of what one looks like with a sleeve over it. So we can sort that out. But does it? You know, if anyone's got any questions about this, now's a great opportunity because we're happy to answer them. Where does this come from? You know, a lot of people have said, how's this grown? Where has it come from? Why are you doing this? What gave you the idea to do this? Well, I'll be honest, if you went all the way back through the history of Card Authority, you can see over time the evolution of where this idea really came from and how the intent grew to do it. We'd always talked about grading, how grading was starting to creeping in Australia, becoming more popular. Then we've monitored and seen what's taken place with grading. We've seen there's been a really good uptake for grading. However, at this point in time, graded cards of domestic product in Australia don't seem to increase the value. And we're seeing a lot of people, what they love about the cards that they're getting back from graders, whether that's CGA or BGS or PSA, is the slabbing aspect.
Yep.
And especially when you're not getting a super high grade, but you still love the idea of the slab.
How it looks.
The storage, the safety, then not having to worry about it. So where this grew from was trying to create an alternative option for people who don't want to get cards graded, but also want the next level of protection and security over their card, but then also add the opportunity to make it present well and look good for their collection and for their presentation purposes.
Yeah.
And there's just so many applications.
Sure. And Ben Griff, I don't know, it's not showing up probably, any plans to go into grading. Look, at the moment, we just don't see that there is a huge upside with grading AFL cards for a value-wise.
We have the future capability to do it.
Yep. And it's certainly on the road. But at the moment,
we don't have the intent to do it right now.
We just don't think that it's not a true representation of bang for your buck.
And the problem as well with it is the cost involved in the grading aspect and the time involved.
Yep.
And what we don't want to do here is be in the compromised position of taking a significant amount of time to get something back to someone where it doesn't actually provide any monetary increase in the value of the item. It's purely for aesthetic purposes. So our intent has been create the best possible product at a price point that's achievable for both us and the people who are going to use them.
Yep.
But also be able to turn it around in a quick amount of time.
So we're getting a couple of questions popping through here from Robert. If a card is slabbed, can you ever take the card back out?
Hey,
the answer is yes. So we have the tooling to de-slab, unslab,
to
crack slabs.
We'll call it safely crack the slab.
We certainly wouldn't recommend people cracking slabs at home. It will cause damage to the card. We went through a whole extensive testing process. We have the tooling to do it. So if later on down the track, you want to get your card graded by one of the other grading companies, or in fact, we switch to grading, or you want to change your label or anything like that, the slab can absolutely be cracked, and then it can either get graded, re-slabbed, all sorts of things.
And to be honest, Robert, we're trying to future-proof the current offering. So there is already a re-slabbing option at a discounted price with us. So if you're someone that has a slab or gets a slab that's damaged, scratched, or there's a problem with it,
or you're not happy with it,
or you're not happy with it, there's a significantly discounted option to have it safely cracked and re-slabbed.
Yep.
And that's, again, as AJ just said, if we end up doing grading in the future, well, I have no doubt it'll be an upgrade type of option for anyone that's already with CA Slabs.
Yep.
It's not a new thing that you're doing. You would be upgrading to it.
A few questions about how many cards can you send at once? As many as you want, Michael.
Yeah.
There's no limit.
Pricing's all up on the website.
Yeah. Well, let me just click a button. We're going to
live activate now just for them.
It's live now.
All right. So, CA Slabs is live now. You guys are the only ones that know about it.
Yep. So if you want to go through and have a look, you can go caslabs.com.au. It'll direct you to RGB Collectibles. You can read all about it. It has all the pricing, all the terms and conditions. It also has the submission form, which you need to fill out with the cards that you want to send in. Officially, submissions are open.
So, well, officially for you guys, submissions are open.
Yep.
For the rest of the world, they're not open till tomorrow morning.
Nah, it's open for everyone. Go for it.
If you're not
it's open now.
If you're not part of the CA Slabs group, we are offering a special discount coupon.
Yep.
Slabs 10.
Slabs 10
at the checkout. It's not going to last long.
Yep.
But if anyone wants to get in early and be part of the first official run of CA Slabs, you've heard it here exclusively. It is AJ literally just flicked the switch. You saw him do it. That was not set up. That was legitimate.
10% off. If you want to go and try Card Authority Slabs, CA Slabs, you can now go and get involved. 10% discount for the next 7 days. Slabs 10 at the checkout.
Yeah.
But if you want to go and join our group, CA Slabs or groups,
Facebook.com/group/CA Slabs.
you can see all the examples of all the labels, the pricing, the terms and conditions, all sorts of things. If there's any questions, you can hit us up on email. We'll certainly answer those. Also on the submission sheet, there is a full list of all the example labels so you can see all the options. Yes, there's all sorts of different freight options. We can do all sorts of things. Just get in touch with us and we will work that out with you.
So just to answer Michael Steele's question and a few others, they start at $15 and they go down from there depending on quantity. So
before you use the discount code.
Yeah, before you use the discount code, the full price is $15 for a single unit and it moves down in increments. So 1 to 10 is $15. 11 to 30, I think it is $14. Well, whatever it may be, but basically it gets to a point where if you do 100 of them, I think it goes down to $11 or $12.
Yep, and then you can take 10% off.
Yeah.
So yeah, go and check it out. Certainly send us through if you've got any questions whatsoever. We would love to, get involved with it and want you guys to get involved with it and have some fun. And we certainly want to see the pictures of your slab cards afterwards.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And again, like this has stemmed from the personal intent to want to do it to our own collections.
Absolutely.
Telling a few people, hey, we want to do this, and looking at a machine, and all of a sudden, a few months later, it's becoming a reality.
Here we are.
So if it doesn't work out, guys, I'll give you the tip. We have enough cards between us to keep Robbie occupied for the next 12 months.
So the website is
doing our collection.
caslabs.com.au. It will take you across to RGB Collectibles, where you can download the submission form and get all the information you need on slabs. But make sure you go and join the group. You can certainly reach out to either of us for more information.
Sorry, Danny's just asked a good question there. Can we do booklets? So at this stage, Danny, we can't do.
Yeah, with 35 point and 55 point at the moment, 130 in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Booklets, we would have to look into that.
It's a more bespoke thing. I'm not sure if our current tooling can do the booklets.
I feel like Robbie's just head's exploding.
Yeah.
I can already see orders coming through. So thank you very much, everyone, for getting involved. We don't want to make it all about us, but we will certainly, we look forward to sharing this journey with everyone here with CA Slabs. All right, we've tipped over the hour mark.
Well, we haven't got to unicorn hunting yet.
Unicorn hunting!
Let's go!
What everyone's favorite segment.
Hey, we've got a lot of new people on deck at the moment.
Yep.
Can you just tell them a bit more about your invention here?
Yep. So if you want, I can't take all the credit, most of it. Unicorn hunting, if you've got a card that you are trying to track down and buy. Now, these cards are generally for people or cards that are just unfindable. Yeah. They're a unicorn.
So not a card that came out 4 weeks ago that you can buy 7 of them on eBay right now.
Or any card. If
it's a card you don't see.
You don't see. Yeah. If a card is on eBay, it's not a unicorn. These are cards that are really struggling to find. Yes, Jack's facial hair is probably a bit of a unicorn. So is his puberty. But we've got a special unicorn. It's actually, it was a funny story for this one. So we're trying to track down a 2012 Future Force Lockie Whitfield gold signature. These cards are numbered to 30. Now, when I first had this unicorn dropped on me, literally 2 hours later, one arrived.
No, appeared.
It appeared. One appeared.
It
put its horn up, its wings were flapping, and I'm like, shit, I am that good at unicorn hunting. I've just nailed this in 2 hours. And it was quickly whooshed away. So we are still looking for it. 2012 Future Force Lockie Whitfield gold signature.
Number to 30.
Number to 30. There are not many of them around. It's probably about a $400 card. So it's not stupid expensive, but it's certainly not cheap.
It's number to 30. So just,
Yep. So it is a GWS card. Well, it's a Future Force card, but GWS player. See what you can do. If you have it out there, we can certainly help facilitate the deal. If you want to stay anonymous, whatever you want, get in touch with us. You can do that through the cardauthority.com.au website or us personally. We've got a whole list of other unicorns that I really need to update on the website. If you like a unicorn or a card that you would like us to look for, go to cardauthority.com.au, go to unicorn hunting and submit the unicorn you are chasing.
That's it.
But Again, 2012 Future Force Lockie Whitfield gold signature number to 30. The recipient would be very, very keen to make a deal. Let us know. There's not many of those cards around anymore. So if you can find it, you got it. We can always help broker deals. We can do all sorts of things.
Absolutely.
You get in touch with us and we'll see if we can make it happen. But look, been a fantastic show. Thank you everyone for your support, not only here at Card Authority, across the whole RGB network and all our other brands. We certainly love what we do here. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but we really enjoy it. But we wouldn't do it and couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you for the support. Jenks, I can't wait till you get your P plates. You've been fantastic. Thank you to everyone out there. We appreciate it. You'll be able to catch this episode, of course, on iTunes and Spotify and all that sort of stuff tomorrow if you want to re-listen to it. But until next time, stay safe out there. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and be nice to everyone and be kind and all that kind of stuff. James, I feel like you're going to say something. Are you ruining my outro?
Are we off air? Oh, sorry, I'll go get James.